Hello, and welcome to FACT's webinar, Maximizing Your Online Store. We are joined today by Katie Althorf. Is it Althoff?
We say Althoff. Yep.
Althoff. Okay. Katie is a farm wife and mom who has been working in ag communications and marketing for over 10 years. She is a former teacher and small business owner who loves to host webinars and provide coaching for farmers to help them grow their businesses. Katie co-founded Chop Local in 2020 and was named one of Cattle Business Weekly's 10 top industry leaders under 40 in 2021. She was voted most likely to be on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in her senior class, which I think is hilarious, and believes life is better when you can see cows out of your kitchen window. I agree, except for I think you should be able to see cows out of every single window. We are very lucky to have we're very
I think
lucky to
that's
have
fair.
Katie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair, right, yeah. Right now I've got 3 calves who are running around and just wreaking all sorts of havoc, and they're in my flower bed. So that's going to be a problem if they continue that into spring. Luckily, right now it doesn't matter. We are very lucky to have Katie with us today to share her experiences and expertise. So without further ado, I return the floor over to you, Katie. And Katie, just feel free to take it away.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Give me a thumbs up, Sam, when you can see that. Looks good? Okay, awesome.
Perfect.
Well, I am really, really excited to be here today because as a former teacher, as we alluded to with my designation as most likely to be on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I love to collect information and then I love to share it with people. And so that's what we're going to do a little bit of today. To start out, just give you a little bit of background, like who are we? Why should you listen to us? We launched Chop Local in 2020 as, as the disruption was happening due to the pandemic. We saw we're from Iowa, so we saw farmers trying to move animals to market and nowhere to send them. We saw empty grocery store shelves for the first time in our lives. And so we really wanted to help provide a way to connect consumers and producers. And my co-founder and I are both part of an agricultural cooperative that owns a meat processing facility. So we've seen this cooperative approach work for producers. And Chop Local is not structured as a cooperative legally, but the idea is the same, is that producers coming together in cooperative marketing can do a better job, benefit their operations, and sell more meat. And so this all really goes back to getting more of the food dollar into farmers' hands. And that's something that we continue to work on through Chop Local. Now, like I said, I'm a former teacher, farm wife and mom. This is my family here. These are our mini Herefords here in the background. Depending on which paddock they're in, I can see them from my office window or I can see them from my kitchen window. Today they're hiding because it is, I think we're up to 2 degrees here in Iowa, but we do have a wind chill advisory and our kids are at home from school for about the 47th day in a row is what it feels like. But anyway, we launched Chop Local University last year because we received a USDA Farmers Market Promotion Program grant to provide educational resources to farmers that are selling meat direct to consumer. We focus on these livestock farmers, but these resources are also applicable to seafood harvesters, small meat processors, and I know some of you on there may have different types of farms, fiber, or even produce, and a lot of what we're talking about is applicable for you as well. So to get started here, why sell online? Now this is USDA data and it's back from 2017. We don't have the newer data out yet, but at that time there were 147,000 livestock farmers selling meat direct to consumer in the United States, and only 9% of them had an online store. Now we do a big survey every year and we're actually going to share a lot of details, the results of that survey in a later webinar with FACT. But one of the things that we pulled out from last year's survey is that farms selling over $200,000 a year in meat are different. 73% of them have an online store. So your online store can definitely be a competitive advantage. And if you are somewhere, maybe you're far below that $200,000 threshold, or maybe you're above that threshold. What we saw across the board was that farms with an online store are selling 40 to 60% more meat than farms without. So think about what 40 to 60% more sales would look like for your farm and your family. And that's what we want to help you do through our resources and through what I'm going to share today. These are the biggest mistakes that we've seen in online stores. We work one-on-one with about 60 different farms on the Chop Local Marketplace, which is basically like an online farmers market for meat. But through the survey that we did and through the consulting services that we have, we've looked at hundreds of different online stores. These are the things that keep coming up. Challenges here are people fail to differentiate yourselves effectively, fail to give customers all the information that they need, fail to attract new customers, and fail to bring back those repeat customers. These things are so important to make your online store worth it, because what we've learned is, being Iowans, we're very familiar with the phrase, if you build it, they will come. That is so not true with our online marketing. There are things that you can do to really enhance it, and we'll go through some of those things now. So differentiating yourself is all about telling your story really effectively. You want customers to know why they should buy from you, and you want them to know that really, really quickly when they go to your website or to your online store. So this, like I said, is about telling your story effectively. When you are writing for online audiences, it's called copywriting. And there are a few tips and tricks that you can use to make sure that this story is getting to your customers really effectively. First, you want to avoid long paragraphs when you are writing online. People scrolling on their phone or on their computer, they will not read long blocks of text. You need to think like a newspaper journalist who has like one paragraph or one sentence in each paragraph, because they're looking at that text a lot of times on their phone. It's squished together like a newspaper column. And so 2 sentences can become a really long block of text really quickly, and people are lazy. They will naturally just skim over it. So we want to avoid these long paragraphs. You also want to use bullet points, use underlining, use italics. This will draw attention to things that are really important and give people's eye a way to travel through your text and to skim it really effectively. Next, we want you to include your marketing or production claims. These are things like grass finished, pastured pork, those words that are kind of those marketing buzzwords. You need to include them, but we want you to stay really positive with that as well. There are so many places out there that are pitting one type of farm against another, and we found that that's just not really very effective marketing at all. What you want to do is talk about the benefits of why you do what you do. So, for example, we have a grass-finished beef producer in Wisconsin that we work with. He has amazing rotational grazing. He rotates every single day at 5 o'clock in the evening. And that is what we would call a feature of his farm. It's the way that he produces his livestock. The benefit of that is that he has grass-finished beef, but he also, with this intensive rotational grazing system, is really contributing to soil health. And so for customers who care about the environment, that's really important to them, contributing to soil health, as well as contributing to wildlife habitat and all the benefits that come from rotational grazing. Although I said to keep things short, it is worth it to explain the benefits of why you do what you do. Then the next thing, and I cannot stress this enough, is to include great photos of your farm and your farm family. As I said, people are lazy. They will skim over your text, but seeing a photo of a farm family, your kids on the farm, or you out on the farm with your animals, with green grass, where everybody looks really comfortable, it can bring back this feeling of nostalgia for some customers, or a feeling of idealism. Like, this is who they want to get their meat from. It feels really good when they can see these images, and they will trust you when they can see your face. It's hard to believe, but honestly, just seeing a face is enough to help build trust in where their meat is coming from. So one thing I would suggest is find a local photographer or find a 4-H student. Find somebody to come out and take pictures of you, follow you around the farm one day, because those photos will be worth it for your online store, for your website, for your social media. You can reuse them over and over and over again. The next key to success, and this is probably the one I'm going to spend the most time on today, is making sure that you give customers all of the information that they need. The goal here is to reduce the number of questions that they are going to ask you, because you are not standing at a meat counter, you're not standing at the farmer's market. They can't ask you the questions and get answers immediately and make their purchase. They have to message you if they have questions. And anytime they message you and you have to wait for a reply and you have to go back and forth, that's a chance that they are just going to click away and they are going to go purchase their meat somewhere else. Okay, that is a lost sale for you. So these are the things that we really recommend you include in your online store, and specifically in your product descriptions. Top questions: is it in stock? If it's on the online store, you should have an inventory management system that will tell you if it's in stock. How big is it? How many per package? If you're selling something like pork chops, is it 1 per package? Is it 2 per package? How thick are those chops cut? Are they bone-in or are they boneless? Do you ship to me, or how can I get my order? How is it packaged? And then this is one that we're seeing increasingly. There are a lot of farms out there that want to sell bundles. This is a great way to increase your average order value. And if you have a little bit of flexibility in there, it can also be a great way for you to clear out your freezer inventory. But people want to know what's in their bundle. So you need to say, at the minimum, this is going to include this many steaks, this many pounds of ground beef, things like that. We've seen farmers that will list a bundle that says, you know, $199 for 10 pounds of our grass finished beef, but it doesn't go into any detail about what exactly is in the bundle. We really recommend that you outline that as much as possible. And if your e-commerce system is easy to use, if things change in your bundle, you can go and update that description. So let's say you have a bunch of roasts to get rid of and you're going to include those in your bundle, but then as your supply starts to wane, you might be subbing in brisket instead. You can change that in your product description for your customers if you have an e-commerce store that works really well. We actually did a webinar recently on holiday gift boxes, and we had two sellers that are selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of meat online every year. And that was one of the tips that they gave, was give the details, change them if you need to. The top questions we get for production methods are, what are your animals fed? Are they injected with anything? And that's typically the way that the question is worded. And then, are they given mRNA vaccines is a newer one, but we've seen it come up a lot more in the last few months. I wouldn't necessarily mention mRNA in your product description, but I would be ready with that answer, or maybe you have that somewhere on your website. I know I see some chats in here. I just want to make sure, because I'm not watching those chats while I'm talking. So if you have questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A, because that's what Samantha will be using when we get to the end of the presentation. We'll come back to those.
Okay, Katie, sorry, it was me. I've been adding some links to the slides.
Oh,
And we
no
also
problem.
we had an mRNA vaccination webinar.
Yes,
so I put a link
I was
to
thinking
that.
you did, and I actually need to go back and watch that yet. So
It was really good. Alan Williams is amazing.
Good. Okay, awesome. So along with like reducing those questions about your products themselves, these are kind of those complete product descriptions. That's the first bullet point on this slide. Second thing is shipping and delivery charges and policies. Okay, some tough love here. You need to price your shipping fees into your product cost online. I know that that's not easy. It is not an exact science, but the number one reason that people abandon their carts online, abandon carts means that they start an order and they don't finish it, is because of surprise shipping fees at the end. If you feel really strongly that you want to charge for shipping, that's your decision. You don't have to agree with everything that I've said. But then I really suggest that you choose a flat amount. You tell them up front, this is what your shipping charge is going to be. And you understand with a mindset that you're going to win some and lose some. That amount might be more than what you needed on some orders. It might be less than what you need on others. We have a free webinar on shipping that talks about how to get the cost down, how to ship effectively, how to estimate what your shipping cost per order is going to be. But it will take you a little bit of trial and error and a little bit of time to figure out what that is going to look like. What we recommend for our vendors is their price online includes some of their shipping cost. And then we offer free shipping for a certain size range of order. Too small of an order doesn't work for free shipping. Too big of an order online does not work for free shipping sometimes either. So you got to have that size range just right. And then we factor in that shipping cost to their prices. Then we offer an automatic discount for customers who are picking up their order or local customers. So they see that shipping price or they see that product price online. It might be higher than what they're used to spending with you if they purchase from you at a farmer's market or something like that. But you can indicate on your website that there is a pickup discount or there is a discount for local customers. And that actually psychologically works really well because they're probably not going to do the math to figure out exactly what that discount is, but they're going to feel good about the fact that they're getting a discount. Excuse me for a second, my cat needs in the room. These are the realities of working from home, is that the cat thinks that she needs to come into the office here. All right. The next thing goes along with clear pricing as well. And this was some of the questions that came in before the webinar is how do you handle variable weight items online? Okay, we're going to go back to this butcher shop analogy. When you go to purchase meat at the butcher shop, you go up to the counter and you say, okay, I want a ribeye steak for tonight. And the butcher pulls that steak out of the case and they put it on the scale and they tell you how much it weighs. And then you find out exactly what the price is, right? And you say, okay, sounds good. Or you go, ooh, my mental math was bad. Let's go for a smaller one, right? Or if they're at the farmer's market and you're charging exact weight and you have your packages of frozen meat, they can say, oh yeah, I want a 4-pound roast. Do you have something around 4 pounds? Oh, I got this 4.5, or I have this 3.8. Oh, I'll go with the 3.8. When they're shopping online, that's a lot harder to do. But remember what I just said about abandoned carts. Number one reason customers abandon their cart is because the cost at checkout is not what they were expecting. There are platforms that allow you to charge. They basically place a hold on a customer's credit card for a maximum amount. Then you go to your freezer, you pull out what you've got in inventory, you type in the exact weight, and it finishes that credit card charge. The problem with this is that your customer does not know what their final charge is going to be when they commit to that order. Now, you might have loyal customers that love you that will purchase meat that way. But if it is a new customer that's never purchased from you before, you've got to reduce that uncertainty. You've got to reduce the surprise, and they need to know exactly what their order is going to cost every time. So up and down, every time someone asks me, I always recommend pricing it based on weight ranges instead of exact weights. And what that means is if you have a roast, for example, you have a roast that's 2.5 to 3 pounds, it's going to be $18.99. Doesn't matter if that roast was 2.6 or 2.9. If it's between 2.5 and 3 pounds, it's $18.99. If it's 3 to 3.5 pounds, it's $24.99. Doesn't matter if it's 3.1 or 3.4. If it's in that range, that's the price. Now, people always ask us, are customers okay with that? Yes, Absolutely. Like I said, we've done thousands and thousands of orders through Chop Local, and we have the benefit of seeing all the customer questions, all the feedback that comes in through all of these orders. There has been one time where a customer complained, but here was the situation. We had a farmer who had a newborn baby. She was the one that was normally fulfilling the orders. She was taking a maternity leave, if you will, with her 2-week-old, and her husband fulfilled the order. He was not familiar with what the weight ranges said online. He grabbed a package of chops out of the freezer and shipped them. They were well below what the stated weight range was that the customer ordered. Of course, the customer was upset in that case. But as long as the bundle or as long as the package has been within the stated weight range, we've never had an issue with anyone complaining about it. We talk a lot more in depth about pricing your products, both including the shipping pricing, working with these weight ranges, figuring out how to price so that your carcass makes the profit that you need it to. We go into a lot of these things on some of our other webinars and in our other resources. And I'll put a plug in here. We actually have a course that we're launching February 1st that's going to go into in depth on these topics. That would be great if you have more questions about this. Okay, last thing here. Unfortunately, there are still going to be questions, right? And so you need to have an easy communication option for your customers. And this ties in really closely with attracting new customers and encouraging repeat customers, because customer support is so important for online sales. We'll go back for just a second. We're going to get to search engine optimization, but answering your customers' questions really quickly. They're probably sending you a question from their cell phone, and they expect that you are going to respond to them really quickly from your cell phone as well. Now, I've seen farmers put up an automatic reply that says, you know, thanks for your question. We'll get to you as soon as we can. That's totally fine. But just know that the longer there is a delay between them asking a question and you answering it, the higher the chances that they're going to find somewhere else to buy their meat in the meantime, especially if they're a new customer. Okay, another way to attract new customers, and this is something that we have a free webinar on as well, is search engine optimization. SEO means getting your name to the top of Google when someone is searching for products or farmers in your area. Our tips here, this is going to be really brief because there's a lot that goes into SEO. But if you have an e-commerce platform that allows you to put in some metadata like you see on my screen here, take advantage of it. Don't leave those fields blank. Go ahead and do that because that can help boost your SEO. You also want to build backlinks. A backlink is when another website online links to you. This might be your local newspaper. You could partner with other farms to build links. Maybe there's a farm nearby that has a vegetable CSA and you guys can help cross promote each other. You want them to put a link to your farm on their website if at all possible. If there are restaurants that use your meat, ask them to put a link to your website on their website, because these backlinks tell Google that you are credible and that basically it's telling Google that you have friends online and that you are a trustworthy source of information. And so Google is going to rank you higher that way. If you don't have a Google business profile, take some time this winter to get that set up. Number one thing, it's huge. It doesn't take a lot of time. We do go over it in our SEO webinar, so highly suggest that. And then once those customers come to your page or to your website or to your online store, you have to use some of those techniques we talked about earlier to be ready to convince them to purchase. Things like telling your farm story. I have these screens up here because you can tell your farm story on your main website pages, but you also want it on your product pages, okay? We like to, on our product pages, we like to put a raw photo of the product, a cooked photo of the product, and then we include a farm photo as well. Again, that visual reminder that they are purchasing from a farm, that they can find out exactly where their meat is coming from, and it makes them feel really good versus going to Walmart and picking it off the shelf there. Social media is another great way to bring new customers in, and I'm not going to dive deep into this one. There are so many resources out there for social media. I will say, though, the same things that we talked about earlier about showing your face, sharing your farm story are really important. Another tip that I really like is this idea of social proof. That is showing that other people have purchased from you and are happy. So those are customer reviews. It's photos of what customers have cooked with your products. It's this photo down in the corner of Teresa shipping out all of these boxes. That's social proof, and it's something that's often missing from your social media that you can add in. We love Victoria, the farm marketing mentor. She is our social media guru. You can find her on any of the major social media channels, and great educational stuff there about selling from your small farm and building your social media. So I highly recommend you go check her out. And then I kind of talked about this already, but your product descriptions and your photos are so important. So we talked about like that basic information, like how thick is it cut? How big is the package? But you also want to make it enticing. You want to make their mouth water. I was doing a social media post earlier because apparently it is International Hot and Spicy Food Day. A lot of our vendors sell a ground chorizo product. And as I was thinking about that ground chorizo, my mouth literally started watering. But I've had that before, so I already knew. How can I get that feeling across to a potentially new customer on social media or on a website? That's your goal there, okay? So here's an example. Temptingly tender and tasty, these pasture-raised pork chops will be a hit, whether you cook them on the grill or pan fry them. You're giving them some ideas of how to cook them, how easy they are. You're incorporating that marketing claim about it being pasture-raised. You have your pork chops here. Then we have a little bit of the social proof as well. These pork chops are a family favorite. We love to throw them on the grill for an easy supper. That makes me stop and think, I wish I had pork chops that I could throw on the grill, not tonight in -2, but I wish that I had some pork chops that I could pan fry tonight, right? So that's what we're going for here. We actually have 100 prompts for product descriptions to give you these kind of mouth-watering ideas. And it's a free download. And if you've been looking at this at the bottom of your screen this whole time, on the MailChimp link here, or the QR code, if you go there and you sign up for the Chop Local University email list, you will get these 100 prompts that you can use to beef up your product descriptions. Okay, so this link is clickable, and I know Samantha's going to send it out afterwards, but you can also use the QR code, snap a picture of it with your phone if you can, and follow the link there. Okay. All right. The last thing here is to encourage repeat customers. So much of this is about customer service, customer support. This quote, I think we could have used it in a lot of different slides earlier. In the world of internet customer service, it's important to remember that your competitor is only one mouse click away. So before they order, keep your inventory up to date. Have all of that really clear information on there. Respond to their questions really promptly if they have questions. After they order, there's no such thing as too much communication about their order. You can send out, your system should send out automated emails. If you're shipping, you should take the time to set up the automated emails with the tracking information as well. Include a thank you card. I love a thank you card that has a family photo in there. I love a handwritten, even if it's just, you just scrawl your name, that's great. Prompt delivery and shipping. This is one that I feel like in the last few months, customers are getting more antsy about. They want their order shipped or delivered immediately. And if it's not, like for example, with the winter storms that we're having in the Midwest, it's really kind of thrown a kink in things. They want information about where that order is. Okay, so you need to be reaching out to them proactively before they ask, to let them know, hey, our local UPS guy said that things have really slowed down because of the winter storm. Is it okay with you if I wait until next week to ship your order? You need to reach out to them, have that communication open, and most of the time they'll be fine with it. Sometimes they need it for a special event, so they'll want you to take the risk. But bottom line is that communication is key. Then email list to encourage repeat orders. And I will say, if you are a farmer's market vendor who has an online store, gathering emails when you're face to face is one of the top things that you can do to help make your online store really worth it. Because then in the off season, you can continue to sell to your loyal farmers market customers. You can also encourage them to purchase in advance before the farmers market. That basically creates an appointment for them to come and purchase from you versus them thinking in their heads, yeah, I'm going to try to make it to that farmers market Thursday night, but if I don't, I'll just stop at Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee is a regional grocer here. I'll stop at Hy-Vee on my way home instead. You want them to commit to purchasing your meat, so the online orders can really, really help with that. Okay, that's the basics of what I had for you today. On the screen here, again, is that QR code to sign up for the email newsletter. These are some of the webinars that we've done recently, some of the blog posts that we've done, some of the webinars that we have coming up. We actually have a great one on the Value Added Producer Grant that's happening tonight. Encourage you, these are all free. So please go and check them out and use them to your advantage. All right, Sam, questions?
Katie, could you put a link to the Value Added Producer Grant in the chat, so anybody who might want to attend that? Because I know I want to register for it, but I'm not going to be able to attend it tonight. So will there be a recording of it?
There will be a recording of it. And yes, I'm going to stop sharing.
If you wouldn't mind, that'd be great, because I'm probably not going to get the email out to everybody until tomorrow. So
yes,
I don't want them to miss out on that opportunity.
Yes. So all of our webinars are recorded similar to Facts, and you can find these on the website too. And Stephen is our grant writing guru, does an amazing job. So, yep.
It should be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, what other questions do we have coming in?
All right, Sydney from Chop Local, she went ahead and put the registration link in the chat.
Thank you, Sydney, because I'm limited on my screens and sharing. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's see, we've got some questions here. Carissa Miller, she says, I used an online store included in my Wix website, and I'm wondering if it's worth using another platform.
I have not used Wix's online store. There are several platforms that are developed specifically for farmers. And when we talk about choosing a platform, if you're going to use one like Wix or Shopify, or you have a Square reader and you want to use Square's online store or Squarespace's online store, I think that those can work, but you have to understand that when you're using kind of one of those mass tools that are meant for all kinds of different industries, you're not going to get the one-on-one support or the specialized tools that are for farmers. That said, I already went into my soapbox about why you don't need variable weight pricing. So that's one of the things that a lot of people look for in a platform is variable weight pricing. I don't think you necessarily have to have that. So I guess, Carissa, right, my answer would be, are you comfortable using it? Can you set it up yourself? Can you do the things that we talked about with products and putting in photos and things like that and make it work for you? Then I think that that would be great. If not, there are some other platforms. I will tell you off the top, we would love to have more vendors on Chop Local. Chop Local works well if you are shipping USDA inspected retail cuts, okay? So if you're not shipping USDA inspected retail cuts, Chop Local is probably not a great fit for you. There are some other platforms out there that might work better for you. And if you're working with one that is specific to farmers, you are probably going to get better support, although we have heard mixed reviews with some platforms.
All right, so I'm going to let everybody sort of put their thoughts into their questions into the Q&A while I run this poll. If you guys wouldn't mind answering these questions, that would be really, really helpful for us as we move forward with our funding. And so thank you for that, Katie. Amanda would like to know, could you share your favorite platforms for online ordering or dip? I feel like you've already answered that. So sorry about that, Amanda.
No, yeah,
I mean, Katie.
no, that's fine. So, we really like GrazeCart as a platform. It is more expensive though. It is a bigger investment. And if you're going to have someone set it up for you, it is going to be a bigger investment. Shopify has literally a million different options of add-ons that you can add to it. It's relatively inexpensive, but as you add add-ons, it's going to cost you more. But you're going to have a harder time finding someone that understands farms and meat to help you with Shopify. Shopify is a huge company. The one-on-one support is, I mean, it's like trying to find someone that you can actually talk to at Amazon or Google, right? Or Facebook. So those two I would consider. There are some others out there that I'm not, I'll be honest, not super familiar with, the ones that focus more on a CSA type of an option. There are some that, yeah, there are some that I won't tell you what we've heard about them either. But I could do that in a one-on-one conversation, but probably wouldn't put that on the, out into the World Wide Web right now.
So we started our online store in 2020 with COVID, and we started out with Square's online stores. So I don't know if that's Squarespace or whatever it's called, whatever their online thing is. And because they're our POS provider, so it made sense. But they really did not work for us and for meat, and having different deliveries and different pickup spots and all that kind of thing. They've changed that a lot. And I feel like it's a lot more user friendly. If you're doing delivery, none of this is shipping for us. But I've got several friends who use Shopify and absolutely love it. I used Barn to Door and did not have very much success with it. And now I'm using a local guy who developed a program specifically for farmers in his area. And so anyway, so there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
There's even like small little nichey things going on.
Yeah, there are a lot of options out there. The thing that I would caution you to think the most about, and this is in our upcoming course too, is you need to determine some of the answers to those questions, like, are you going to offer shipping? How many delivery routes do you have? Do you need something that offers several different pickup points? Are you going to do the variable weight, or do you really want to, do that exact weight pricing, or are you going to use the weight ranges? And then you need to think about how much support you need, and that can help guide. I really strongly believe there's no one size fits all. That's why I'm kind of hemming and hawing here, is because different platforms are great for different people. But it needs to work for you, and it needs to work for your customers. Some of these farmer specific platforms make it easier for the farmers on the backside, but that doesn't matter if customers aren't ordering on the front side, right? So if it doesn't give your customers the information that they need and give you the option to put all of the stuff in there that you need to, it's not going to work in the long run.
Yeah, so I'm with you, Katie, as far as like not doing variable weights, just doing ranges. We started out doing ranges, and we've always done it, and we have not had anybody ever have any complaints with it. And it gives you a lot of flexibility, so you don't have to dig through. I just don't want to put the time into finding that exact weight, and I don't want to anyway. So I'm with you on that. I think it's the only way to go. Although
I'm
other people might
glad to hear it. Yep. I know there have been people successful, doing things the opposite of the way that I said that. My gut tells me that they've had to work harder to get there. And if we can cut down your learning time and we can make it easier for you, like, that's what we want to do.
Right. So there is, for those of you who are with us today, those of you who are watching this later won't be able to see this, but there's a fair amount of conversation going on in the chat about GrazeCart. So if you want to go over there and look in the chat while we answer some other questions. But anyway, but those of you who are watching this as a recording, you're out of luck. That's why you should attend the webinar in the first place and not watch it afterwards. Anyway, somebody else had a question. We've only sold meat in person in the past. I'm interested in learning more about how to ship meat. Can you recommend any resources or information about shipping needs?
Yeah, so this is probably our most popular webinar that we have is on shipping frozen meat. We actually have done a lot of research on this, and for most cases, you do not need to use dry ice. However, there's a trade-off there. You probably need to use styrofoam if you're in a hot area. What we recommend, just really briefly, is reuse styrofoam. See if you can find it from your local vet, a hospital, a pharmacy, something like that. Include a little note in there that says that we're reducing our environmental impact by recycling this styrofoam container. Customers are generally love that. In the winter, especially if you're up here where we are, you might be able to get by with some of the other soft-sided type insulation materials, but we recommend gel packs. We have a webinar that goes into exactly how to pack your box, how to reduce your shipping fees, when to ship, where to ship, all of that kind of thing. So yes.
All right.
I'm looking at the chat here and Eva says, what's the shipping platform you use? I ship wreaths and Christmas and it's a mess. Yeah, that we go into all of that really in depth in our webinar, but we recommend that you link up with something like Shippo or ShipStation that gets you discounts on your actual shipping cost, and then you use UPS or FedEx. We never ship meat via the US Postal Service.
Yeah, what I had at some point, I had a customer who thought I needed ice packs, and she would bring me boxes and boxes of those disposable ice packs that she got with her the medication she got.
Yes.
So she got a lot of medication. So it was just like I had so many of those. I still have so many of them. Anybody who wants them, I just give them to them.
That's right. And you can often ask in, your Facebook groups or things like that. Or if you have a good customer base, social media, you can ask them, does anybody have a supply of styrofoam packages? I talked to a farmer who he and his son both receive medications in styrofoam packages, and he's been throwing them away. And he was like, why have I been doing this? I could have been using them to ship my meat. So, yep.
All right, somebody asks, will something like the inventory management system be included in a basic starter platform?
Yeah, so most platforms have, from an inventory management system, it is limited. It will usually allow you to put in the number of packages that you have in stock. When someone orders, it automatically deprecates, meaning it removes what they just ordered from what is in stock. Some of the limitations are that it's really hard to find a system that syncs up with a point of sale. GraceCart does have that, but it is very pricey, as I said. So inventory management, when you're selling in person and selling online, like quite frankly, it's not easy. There's not a great system out there. The other limitations to most systems are it's not going to give you a way to keep track of, I brought in this meat into my freezer on January 1st, and then I sold this much, and then January 16th, I brought in this much. And it's not going to give you those nuances of like meat coming in and out. It's usually just going to have, I have this many in my freezer, and everybody that I know does have to reconcile that on a regular basis. Or if it's a product like your ground beef and you have hundreds of pounds, they put 100 pounds in online, knowing that they probably have 400 pounds in their freezer. So the number that you put in online doesn't have to be exactly what you have in your freezer either. Now, if you're doing a pre-sale for prime ribs at Christmas, obviously you're going to put exactly how many standing rib roasts you have online, and you're going to watch that really carefully. If somebody Facebook messages you and says, I want to reserve a standing rib roast, you're going to go square that up online because you do not want to sell more than what you have, right? But that's not really any different than if you're taking messages via, most farms that I know are taking orders via phone call, text message, Facebook message anyway. And so inventory management is just part of the job, I guess.
It's a nightmare.
It is. I wish I had a better answer for that. The other question that came in beforehand is people asked about fees. You are going to have credit card fees. It's part of selling online. You are going to have platform fees. It's part of selling online. You're going to have disgruntled customers every once in a while. And if you ship, you're going to have shipments that fail every once in a while. It's kind of a cost of doing business. Nobody likes to deal with it, but it is what it is, right? It's the risk that we take to open up the market.
I was at a conference once, I think it was the Carolina Farm Stewardship here in North Carolina, and somebody had a suggestion for what they did with their inventory management. And they had two separate inventories. One of them was their own because they did a lot of shipping. And then they did a farmer's market. So they had two different inventories they were running, whereas one was for the shipping. So because it's hard when you're at the market to then,
Yeah.
you know, sort of take it out. So he had two separate, it was like two different worlds. He just kept them separate. I don't know. I think that you'd have to have a lot of space for that.
You'd have to have a lot of freezer space. Most of the farms that we work with, the size that we work with, don't have that freezer space. And they
Yeah.
don't have enough, for example, bacon that they can separate it like that. You know, I mean, if you can sell your bacon at the farmer's market, sell it at the farmer's market. Don't save it for online.
Right.
Or yeah,
I think he only did beef, so he didn't have multiple species. But
that would make it a little bit easier.
so Lucy McCain would like to know what kind of incentives have you offered for meat customers, or what's I guess what would you suggest would be some good incentives to
And
offer to entice people to buy from you?
yeah, I mean, sales and coupons work. They do. I know that there are gurus out there that say don't run a sale, but it works. And if you have a new customer that wants to take a chance on your meat, especially in this economy, a sale or a coupon can be what pushes them to hit that button and to make that first purchase. And if you get it in their hands and it's amazing meat, hopefully they'll come back. A sale or a coupon can also be the way that you get a repeat customer that hasn't ordered for a while to remember that you exist and that they can get their meat from you. So again, this ties into your pricing. I mean, we recommend that you have your pricing set to the point that you can afford to do a little bit of this. It doesn't have to be huge. The other thing is that maybe your sale or coupon is an inventory management strategy for you. So that you can move a product that's been in your freezer for a while. Maybe you got too much chorizo made and it's not moving, but you can offer customers a discount or a freebie. Some of our farmers have also done a freebie where you order so much and you get a couple free pounds of ground beef, or you get a roast or something, again, that maybe doesn't move very well. So, and I don't mean to imply that ground beef doesn't move very well, because it does often. It's just that there's a lot of it to move, right?
Yeah. All right, so Danielle has a question. She has a technical question regarding setting weight ranges for cuts. How do you go about organizing these cuts in your freezers, bags? Do you use bags? Do you use bins? Also, how much of a range do you recommend? For larger, less expensive cuts like chuck roast, I set the ranges around 1/4 pound, but for cuts like ribeyes, I go 1/10 pound. Thoughts? Actually, I do
Yes.
something very similar, Danielle. I just based on the cut, that's how large my range is based on the cost of the cut. What are
Yep.
your thoughts, Katie?
Exactly. Most of our vendors on Chop Local will do a 1/2 pound increment on a roast, so they're a little bit bigger. And then they'll go down to a 2-ounce increment, like on a fillet or on some steaks. And so that's kind of generally what we recommend, but it's kind of based on your pricing and what your comfort level is. Remember that the more increments you have, the harder it is to manage your freezer space. Okay. We've crates, boxes, bags, because they pack a little bit better, but they are harder to move in and out. You know, it depends on if you're using like a reusable freezer bag, or if you are using like a paper grocery bag or something, or a plastic bag, you know. I've seen a lot of different ways, and it probably depends on your freezers, how many cuts, how many weight ranges, that type of thing.
So Zachary has a question about local delivery. He's more interested in learning some strategies for reaching more local delivery customers. And he doesn't like to ship outside of his area, and he has a weekly delivery route. So do you have some strategies for him with that?
Yeah, so I mean, not going too deep into the marketing aspect of it, there are quite a few different ways. I love the local Facebook groups that are like, we have one that's called Iowa Shops, Iowa Farms. There are also probably local community groups. I mean, I'm very rural, but the two biggest towns near me have just a community group. And if you go into their rules, like Ames, Iowa, home of Iowa State University, I can post in there, I think it's once a week, about our farms or about your small business. Most people don't do that often. Same thing in Boone, Iowa, you can do that in their community group. So that is one way to reach some local customers. And a lot of times, instead of posting yourself, if you watch for questions where people say, where can I find a local farm, that type of thing, then you chime in the answers. That works really well. And even better is if you have some friends that will come in and recommend you in those community groups instead. You get that social proof, you start to build that word of mouth. And that would be another thing, is if you have some loyal customers, don't be afraid to ask them to leave a review and to share online what they're cooking, what they think of your product. You have to make the ask. It's called a call to action. You have to make the ask. You have to have the call to action to get them to do that.
And I'm a huge fan of My Digital Farmer, Corinna Bench.
Yeah.
And she's fantastic. And so that she actually sort of lays out some processes for doing that. And so it's just a podcast, and most of them are like 15, 20 minutes long. So it's super easy to, just, get your head down and get some work done. Or if you're driving, doing all those deliveries, listen to some Corinna Bench.
Yeah,
and we've
there
got
are
time.
a lot of great resources out there. And that's why we've focused a lot more on like specifically selling via your store in our resources, because we don't want to duplicate what's already out there, so.
Yeah. Oh no, I think there's room. And even just listening, even if somebody is doing the exact same type of thing, it's always good to listen to their take on it, because they might have just a little bit different experience or talking to different people. So yes, so
Completely agree.
Carissa is going to be our very last question, and if we can answer it in less than a minute, that would be great. And then we'll just do our farewells. So Carissa says, I sell whole animals, custom butchered for your freezer. Any tips or resources you recommend for deciding when it's more profitable to move to selling to USDA cuts? It's really
that
hard for
wasn't
her
the
to wrap her
question I
head.
expected. Okay. Meat price calculator, Cornell meat price calculator, pricing for profit with Matt LaRue, that's on my screen right now. Matt LaRue will help you figure out if it's more profitable or how to make it more profitable to move to retail cuts. We've got 2 webinars on it. Matt's coming back for his 3rd episode coming up this spring. Can't recommend it more, best resource out there for pricing.
He's a pretty cool guy too. And he works very closely, for those of you in North Carolina, with NC Choices.
Yes. Yep.
All right. So that's it, guys. Really a huge thank you to everybody. And especially to you, Katie. That was really good. I knew as soon as we first started talking that you were going to have a lot to share, and it was going to be amazing. So just want to do a couple of housekeeping items. I will be following up probably tomorrow with the recordings and links to all of the things that Katie's been discussing through all of this, including her webinars and all that kind of stuff. Probably won't be till tomorrow. And we've got a whole bunch of webinars, and if I could share my screen on my laptop, which is really hard to do, I would show you, but you could go to FACT's website, foodanimalconcernstrust.org, to see the upcoming webinars. Our next one is in 2 weeks, is preparing for lambing season with the amazing Lydia Strand. So a sincere thank you to Katie. It's been such a pleasure. And finally, I'd like to thank everyone out there for your time and your questions. And you guys are always absolutely fantastic. I never have anything but wonderful things to say about you guys. So, and Katie will be joining us again in, I think, 3 weeks.
Something like that.
She's going to be discussing some research that they have done on direct selling. So you make sure you check that out, because I'm sure that's going to be really amazing as well. I took lots of notes. Hopefully everybody took lots of notes. Anyway, thank you, Katie. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye-bye.